my lovely peaches, just popping into the very beginning of this video to let you know this is about an hour of my thoughts. I did not screen record any testimony or any of the trial in this particular video. I will link the other video where I have a lot of testimony and trial recorded, and I will pop up little cards and stuff in this video so that you can link to those if you like. These are my thoughts after everything has been in, both sides have rested, and the jury is now out in deliberation. And these are my deliberations that I said that I would do once the jury was in their deliberation. So if you're interested in my thoughts and what I would be talking about if I were deliberating as a juror in the Karen Read trial, then join me here in this video. And like I said, you can watch the trial clips in my other videos or on other channels. Okay, see you. Enjoy the video. Thank you. Hello, my lovely peaches. How are you? Welcome and welcome back. Let me turn on some light. Let's turn on some light. We are in the dark here. I am going to talk about Karen Read trial deliberations. Day 3 is donezies, and they have not come up with anything. So I have my cute little notebook here, which I showed off in another video. Not sponsored. Not yet. So if you're interested in what I think about the verdict and what my thoughts are and what I would be saying if I were a juror deliberating in the deliberation room and what I think they might be saying, then please enjoy this video and please feel free to comment, ask a question, tell me what your thoughts are. Do you think she's guilty? Not guilty? Do you feel like you just don't know? Do you think she's guilty of second-degree murder, as in she wanted to hit him with her car to kill him and she did? Do you believe that she was driving drunk and it was involuntary manslaughter with an enhancement of driving under the influence? Or do you think that she hit him with her vehicle and she wasn't drunk and she didn't know? Or do you think that she didn't hit him at all, that they proved that there's no way that she could have hit him and therefore she's not guilty? Or do you think that she did not hit him, she's not guilty, and they covered it up and framed her? Or do you think that she's not guilty, they covered it up, they framed her, and they killed John? Which one? Or do you think something else altogether? Those are the things that I'm going to be talking about, and I have some notes that I wrote down in my very cute, adorable notebook, which has an emoji. It's not an emoji. It's a, what do you call it? An icon for weather. I was so upset that the other one I bought had, I was like, wait, I remember that it didn't have rain, but I was like, wait, how did I know it was the rain one, but there was no rain in it? And I looked at my old notebook and it was actually, it was just an umbrella, but they didn't have raindrops. And I was like, how lazy can you be? It would have taken you 2 seconds to go, dash, 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 there's some rain. So I found one where the person did do that, and they actually had a little cloud as well. All right, let's get to the video. So because I'd like to get this out reasonably tonight, I think it would be good timing if I record my thoughts, make the video, share it, and upload it tonight. Today is Thursday, June 27th. It's 9:02 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 2024, and I have a few pages of notes that I hand wrote And then I was like, this is taking too long. Let me text myself a bunch of texts, which I did. So I want to read them and I want to make sense of it, but I want to kind of get through it relatively quickly so the video is not too long. All right, so I'm going to do the best I can, and you can see my cute little adorable clock. It's 9:04. Let's see. So I did text myself a bunch of notes. So things I feel sure of, I'm going to start with that because it's a much shorter list. Things I feel totally sure of. I do believe that it was snowing. And I feel confident that the prosecution made me feel confident that Jen McCabe did not search house long to die in cold at 2:27 a.m., but that it was in fact at 6:23 and 6:24 a.m. I personally was convinced about that because I also felt, this is something I'll say, I feel like I was confident that the defense did not convince me that anyone else had any motive or that there was any evidence at all that anyone, any Alberts, McCabe's, Higgins, Proctor, Yuri Buchanan, no one that I was able to discern had any motive, that there was absolutely no evidence whatsoever that anyone had done anything to him except for possibly Karen. They didn't prove to me that Karen had any motive for killing him. It didn't seem to me, well, okay, I think that they did attempt to prove that she had some motive. I feel that the evidence that they put forth, the words that was put forth was a hinting at maybe did Karen delete some Ring camera videos, like it was alluded to, but there was never any actual evidence except for like a couple of people saying that Karen showed them her taillight, which should have been caught on a Ring video, but there was no Ring video of it. But one of those, I believe Carrie Roberts was very credible. And I think she said that, but she said she didn't hear Karen saying, I hit him. I believe that's what she said. Okay, so one question that I often talk about is super important to ask in any investigation for anything is the question, who benefits? Like, for example, with Wendy Adelson, I believe that Wendy Adelson was the ultimate benefactor, not necessarily by getting money by killing Dan Markel, although she did, because she had taken, from what Dan said, I'm going a little spin-off right here, I think she had taken like $700,000 of stuff, plus whatever that inheritance Holocaust survivor ring was worth, and plus everything else that she'd done, like there was a lot of stuff that she benefited from. The religious upbringing she didn't agree with, the fact that she literally did not want to live in the place where she was being forced to live. Like, she had so many physical and financial and emotional and mental and parental benefits. The benefits that Wendy Adelson gained and continues to gain today as she continues to walk free, getting away with murder every single day. She walks free, getting away with murder, rewarded by getting to raise her children however she wanted to, wherever she wanted to. Isn't she lucky? She got away with murder and she's benefiting from it every single day. Let me take a sip. This is very flat and totally yuck at this point. Oh, and the food has to come out of the oven, so pause. Look, it's 9:09. I'll be back. Oh, look at how late it is now. I thought it was going to be 2 minutes. I got this new chair, and it's actually has wheels, and it can swivel. And it's a lot smaller than that other chair I had, but I can pull myself in and push myself out, which I wasn't able to do before, which is why I always had to do butt in. And now this is so far so good. Actually, I made a video of myself yesterday putting it together, which was a little bit of a freaking headache, and I may share it with Patreon and YouTube members. I just have to peruse it when I have a chance and see if it's hideous or if I should share it. So if you want to see that, join me on Patreon or members. Okay, where was I? So talking about what was the benefit? Who benefits? Who benefited? How did Karen benefit from John dying? She didn't. In my assertion of the situation, she didn't get any money from him dying. There was, she wasn't like stuck raising his children. They were just boyfriend and girlfriend. They weren't engaged. So there was no divorce trying to avoid. They didn't own property together. She had her own home. It seemed as if she had her own money. She was a professor of economics. Is that correct? Let me check. Okay, heavy.com has Karen read 5 fast facts you need to know. Number 1, Reed found O'Keefe in a snowbank with multiple injuries. Prosecutors say Reed has a lengthy career in teaching and finance. On LinkedIn, Reed lists her specialties as, quote, member CFA Institute and member Boston Security Analysts Society. She's listed as being on the faculty in the finance department of Bentley University, a position she held for more than 13 years. She has worked in equity research in the tech sector for Fidelity Investments for more than 14 years. So she's a smart motherfucking bitch and she knows her money. I am financially illiterate. She is financially, sounds like she's an expert. Before that, she was a financial analyst for Sensata Technologies, a client account manager for Brown Brothers Harriman, and a trading room assistant for Huey Center for Financial Services. She graduated from the Bentley College Elkin B. McCallum Graduate School of Business and has a BS, which is not a bullshit, but it's a Bachelor of Science in Finance from Bentley University, quote, accelerated studies, graduated in 3 years, Presidential Scholar of 1999-2000, her page reads. She's an adjunct lecturer. The university declined to comment, according to CBS Boston. Reed was captured on a video being taken to court. I didn't watch that. It was not admitted as evidence in the trial, so I haven't watched really any of that stuff. Number 5, the Boston Police Department remembered O'Keefe as a kind person who was, quote, dedicated to his family. Okay. All right, so it's 10 p.m. Do you know where your children are? And I do. Mine are over there in the other room. Okay, so Karen Reed was wealthy. Karen Reed had her own money. Karen Reed had her own career. Karen Reed sounds like a smart-ish mom. Smarter than me. All right, and let's see. What else did I write? So what was her motive to kill him? Why not just break up? Why not just move on to somebody else? Like, what possible motive could she, yes, she was trying to cheat on him with Brian Higgins, but how is that a motive to kill him? And how is that a motive for Brian Higgins to kill John? It's not. I'm not getting it at all. Okay. Oh, this is what I think, name it. Either she's the luckiest or the unluckiest person in the world, because either she didn't hit him and she's going to go down for it, or she did hit him and somehow his injuries were sadly enough to kill him, which is bad and unlucky, but somehow lucky enough where it just so happened that it just doesn't look typical. Not typical, but possible. So the things that make me think he got hit by a car are, or the SUV, are his busted up head, the fact that his shoe was in the snow, that makes me think that it flew off when he got hit. The taillight pieces I find to be highly sus. There's reasonable doubt because the inverted video made it kind of like, well, did the cops edit the video and mess with the taillight? It wasn't just the fact that it was inverted. It was the fact that, like, there were so many things. Was the video tampered with? Was it accurate? Were there missing pieces? Was it up and up? The video of her pulling out of John's house looked like the taillight was still bright red, not broken. So the things that made me think that he did get hit was that he was laying all the way over there by the pole, that he was outside, that he was dead outside, that he was dead outside where she was close to, that the sneaker was off his foot and that it was found outside. So the taillight pieces were unclear to me because there was no evidence log, because they left the scene open, and so that was like, it was more susceptible to who knows what. They had no like videos and photographs of like that night, like from the moment of the scene, like when the cops pulled up and they were like going over to the body, and like all of this stuff is happening, like when it was happening, meaning, you know, the morning of him being found, not like the actual moment he got hit, but the morning of. There were so many things that if they had recorded video, if they had recorded photographs from like coming out from afar and going, you know, showing up close, showing her car right there at that moment, showing the videos, like, I don't understand. There were so many resources available potentially where they could have gathered evidence, but they didn't, and that created the reasonable doubt. It's like Bob Motta, who I started watching again, even though I was getting super annoyed that he was super biased. But I kind of went back to watching him in part because nobody else was streaming. Today, they had some really good guests and Jay was on him. And so I was like, okay, fine, I'll watch. But he's making good points too and stuff, you know. And he said, the thing is, if they had done the interviews inside the house and done all the investigation, then either they would have found evidence of something happening in there, or they wouldn't have. And so if they did a proper investigation, they would either exonerate Karen or prove it was her. Either way, they should have done the proper investigation. Did they actually, like, I was saying, they had no evidence of anything happening, but was that because they didn't gather it? Did they destroy the evidence? Did they cover up the evidence? Or did they just fail to gather that evidence? Who knows? How can we know? Because it's not there. So, you know, just like when they said, oh, the Sally Port video was inverted, but it wasn't on purpose. And then it's motion activated. So there's these gaps where the video cuts out and people just vaporize and then they just appear again. And it's not because anybody messed with it or actually cut stuff out, editing video that was there. It just shut off. And, you know, just like, how did John O'Keefe's cell phone end up underneath him completely not a scratch on it? And what did Trooper Paul say? It just did. But it just did is not beyond a reasonable doubt. And I believe they were saying that Massachusetts defined reasonable doubt as beyond a moral certitude or certainty or something. So my understanding of what the Commonwealth's evidence that they put forth to try to prove second-degree murder, that she wanted him dead, boils down to so-called deleted Ring camera videos that we never got evidence that they were deleted or recorded, or like, how do we know? I don't know, because you said so, bruh. I don't know. Then the angry voicemails and the arguments, the Facebook messages, that just made me feel like she doesn't know where he is and she's pissed. She thinks he's cheating. How does that prove she killed him? It doesn't to me. Then she moved her car. She moved her car from his house to her parents' house because that's where she was going to stay. I don't know. That doesn't prove to me. Like, maybe she was trying to tamper with evidence, or maybe that's just where she was going to stay. So then there's the hair. And I feel like it would have been so much more effective, in my opinion, if instead of Alan Jackson saying the hair was planted, which seems totally out there, what sounds completely reasonable and believable is the hair could have been there from any time. That was John's girlfriend's SUV that he went in and out of, that was in his garage. She part-time lived with him. They dated for 2 years. There would probably be, the fact that there was only one hair on the car is bizarre. I would expect his hair and his DNA all over that vehicle. And if I had been the defense attorney, I would have said, the fact that there's a hair of his on her car is only evidence that he probably was in that car many, many times. We know that. So that doesn't prove anything. It doesn't prove that it happened that night. To me, that proves nothing, okay? Even if it's his hair. And I don't care that the car went 70 miles through a blizzard and stuff. Once a hair gets stuck to a thing, he can be stuck to a thing. I can totally believe that. Like I said, I'm surprised there's not more hairs and shit of his. It was his girlfriend's SUV that she would park in his garage and he would be in and out of regularly. So of course there's going to be his hair and DNA on it, okay? So the inverted video, the total lack of motive, then her emotional, completely heartbroken, distressed, disturbed reaction,
utterly distraught,
her calling him 53 times, you know, all of the stuff that she was saying, none of those things make it sound to me that she was trying to murder him. You know, like, what proof of intent? There's none. It's like the little tiny tidbits they tried to put on. To me, absolutely not guilty for second degree. Absolutely not guilty. Just no intent, no benefits, no purpose. There's just no reason for her to do that on purpose, in my opinion. She was trying to cheat. She was jealous. She was unhinged. She had low self-esteem. Maybe she feels like John can do better. He was handsome. He was tall. He was very well liked. And she's kind of a bitch. She's like an unpleasant person. And she has like a super unsexy health struggles. Okay? But why would she kill him? So I believe that why the jury is taking so long is because they have probably been dying and itching and wanting to talk to each other so desperately. And there's however many, 12 plus people, and they have so much to say. And they're probably just blah, 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 blah. Talk. They're going to talk until they can't talk no more. Okay? They have been in here hostages in this crazy situation for 9 weeks. Why should they just give it up? Poop, pop, poop. They have every right to talk about whatever, watch every fucking video, listen to every fucking voicemail, read those text messages. They want to, they could, they can, they should, okay? Because, you know, like I said, I think it is possible that she did hit him in some bizarre, highly unusual way that resulted in the very not typical but possible wounds that resulted in John's extremely unusual, but like, to me, his head, something happened to his head. Why did his shoe fly off? I feel like it's like a lot of people are saying it's utterly impossible that she hit him, and I don't think so. I think that she hit him, which knocked him unconscious, and then he died from a combination of his brain bleeding, fractured skull / dying out in hypothermia. And like I said, it was like a 1 in a billion chance kind of thing. That's what I was saying. Is she the unluckiest or the luckiest? Like, the fact that the wounds were so bizarre may be what gets her off, because many people feel like there's no way that she could have hit him. Those FBI people said so, I don't think that they know those are FBI people, but, you know, Crash Daddy with the dimples. Oh my God, Alita did like a little, oh, it was so cute what she did on her video. It was like hearts with his smile. I was like, yes, girl, that's what I was thinking. And then the other handsome dude, what was he? I'm getting so tired, as you can see. It's getting late. My son, my 12-year-old, and I were having a deep, long, in-depth conversation, and I was like, I'm trying to get back to that video. The bioengineer and the accident reconstructionist, you know, they were very plausible. They were not paid for by either side, and the defense chose to call them. The prosecution could have, and the defense pointed that out. Hey, they could have called them too, but they chose not to. Why is that? So I'm going to read the rest of my notes. Okay. So, watching all of the streams and all of the people that I've watched, it's clear that some people think she's so obviously guilty. Those people are in a very small minority. And a lot of people think she's not guilty. But then there's like a lot of confusion. So what would I vote or argue? No proof of intent. There's a lot of reasonable doubt. Definitely not guilty to second degree. 100% I didn't see intent. I said this part already, that she was trying to cheat. She was jealous. She was unhinged, low self-esteem, self-depreciating. Maybe she thought that John can do better. He's so handsome and well-liked, while she's got this leaky bottom problem. So I think that the jury's talking. And somebody else pointed out, Peter pointed out, those jurors, if they're doing what they're supposed to, they're not watching lawyers on YouTube. They're not watching the replay. They're not going back and listening to the testimony and then listening to Alita listen to it and react, and then Emily listen to it and react, and Peter listen to it and react, and Runkle Ian listen to it and react, and Lawyer Lee listen to it and react, like I've been doing. So I can formulate these thoughts because I've been doing this all along, all the way. They need to talk to each other. They're probably not lawyers. They're not in there watching. They can't go through watching YouTube now. They need to go through the evidence and through what they remember and what they thought and what their reactions were. And some things are going to hit others differently. Some people are going to be really hung up on, there's a fly in here. The fly on the wall that are you the fly in the deliberation room? Can you please go? Hey, fly, can you please go to Boston and come back tomorrow? Okay. How many jurors are totally hung up on Trooper Proctor's disgusting text messages, and they're not going to be able to believe anything that he said and or gathered, and say, how can we trust this taillight evidence when we saw that he wanted to pin it on her? But then who's going to be in there saying, well, he hated her because look at what a fucking bitch she was. And she was cheating on this man, and, you know, and she was drunk, and he wanted to break up, and she freaking hit him with her car. And that's why Trooper Proctor hated her so much. Yeah, he's unprofessional, but he had every right to be. Or he shouldn't have been unprofessional, but he had every right to feel those things. And then that brings me to, what do I really believe that they were hiding with those deleted texts and stuff? Well, I think that they were probably, most likely, it was more of those nasty texts. Let me see. So let me read the rest of this. Okay, so they hadn't gathered evidence, or the way they gathered evidence was so unprofessional. So these are the questions I wanted to ask. Are they really that incompetent? Are they corrupt? Were the cops colluding to frame Karen? Were they colluding to cover up a murder and frame it on an innocent one? Did they believe that she hit him, but they didn't have enough evidence, so they thought, we'll just plant a little bit of evidence to push it over the edge and make sure that we could get her? Are they just super absolutely unprofessional in their practices, and now it's being put on the spotlight and magnified because of this case is so high profile that this is the way they always do shit, with the solo cups and the paper bags, and you know, just no body cams, no videos, no interviewing people on video, like just totally fucking unprofessional. And this is just how they've always operated. This is how they always do it, but now it's being put out on a global spotlight. Is that what's happening? Did they destroy evidence? Did they cover up evidence? Did they intentionally fail to gather it? So if so, they did do an excellent job on that part, because none was presented to convince me of a third-party culprit. And now let me go to my texts. I'm getting very tired. So was it a matter of they really thought that she did it? The evidence was flimsy. It was more of a hunch and a premonition. And so they thought that they could get the evidence to back up their premonition and their hunch, because maybe Karen really is kind of a bitch. Maybe she is somebody who'll just fling off a fuck you, go fuck yourself to a literal stranger. Maybe she is super unhinged and jealous. Maybe John's friends had formed a lot of nasty opinions of her, nasty experiences with her, nasty ways that they thought about this woman. And so they unleashed that. Trooper Proctor's group chat with his 9 buddies was being mirrored in the Jen McCabe and the Higgins, and like, that's, to me, that's the most believable thing. Not that they were covering up that they murdered this man and that they were like pinning it on Karen and hiding his evidence and hiding his body and all that stuff on their front lawn, but that they were saying really nasty shit about Karen. That's what I think is the most believable, that they were covering up all of their Karen hate. Maybe they already thought bad. Now I'm going to read my texts. Maybe they already thought badly of her and they unleashed in texts. The prosecution tried to infer that Karen deleted Ring camera videos and moved her car to her parents' house to tamper with evidence, but there was no actual evidence that she had deleted anything. So that was just speculation. There was no evidence that really actually proved that theory. Fly, you better go to Boston. And her text messages with Brian Higgins made her less likable, although also very pathetic and a pitiable person. Like, it made me feel pity for her. It didn't make me feel like, oh my God, you evil. I did call her diabolical. Like, you diabolical. You are over here trying to cheat on your boyfriend and lying and saying that he was the one cheating on you. But does that make her a murderer? No. Okay, and then her text message is right, okay? So the testimony between Laura and Marietta talking about it also painted Karen in a negative light, although Laura did say that the next day, after Karen was like, go fuck yourself, that Karen apologized, and then she offered to pay for some of Marietta's room. And that seemed to have come across very poorly based on Laura's testimony. Laura seemed taken aback by that. And Laura said that she had told Karen, you don't need to pay for it. An apology will suffice. And Karen said, well, I'm going to apologize anyway, but I just wanted to pay for some of her room. Okay. Oh, I had said it over here. If I really had to guess about what all was deleted from those text messages and maybe what they were talking about on those phone calls, was I would guess it was more like leaky balloon knot type talk, blaming Karen, shitting on Karen. The one thing Bob said was, oh, I bet Karen's sphincter's real tight right now. And I was like, is it though? Can she? That's gross. That's the gross stuff that they talked about, okay? So I believe maybe they deleted all that stuff. And I would believe that more than a murder cover-up. So Karen does not come across as particularly likable in her interview. She also came across to me as unhinged and extremely jealous and insecure and self-depreciating, and also talking bad about the woman she was jealous of. So she was contradicting herself because she was so jealous of Marietta Sullivan, who she thought that John was desiring and maybe even cheating on with. But at the same time, she was calling Marietta gross. Then Laura testified that Karen had paid for the meal where there was like 2 or maybe 3 couples, and that they were taken aback by that because it was completely unnecessary. And again, it made me wonder, what was Karen's motivation? Laura said that Karen said, oh, I'm honored to be here and I wanted to pay. And maybe that was true, or maybe it was also some type of power move because Karen felt insecure and jealous, and one thing she did have was money, and she was fucking smart about it too. So, Karen had these health problems. She's had MS. She had all kinds of digestion issues, and that can make you feel, despite the obvious pain and discomfort of the actual issues, to make you feel really undesirable and unbeautiful and unsexy and just terrible. And if she really did have the issues that Trooper Proctor was talking about, then obviously that would be extremely embarrassing. I'm turning this down because I'm extremely exhausted and I'm getting really tired. I have to yawn. So, how did Trooper Proctor have that information? Was John talking shit about her? Was Jen talking shit about her? Again, is that what Jen was telling people in text messages and talking literal shit about Karen? And they wanted to hide the fact that they were so viciously ripping her apart, ripping her a new one, so to speak. But ultimately, she is the one that hit John with her car, and she was so drunk that she couldn't even remember, and she didn't even know. Who drives away from somebody without waiting for them to go inside? Somebody who's mad, somebody who's arguing, maybe somebody who's drunk. Did John throw the glass? Did John get out of the truck, the SUV, go to throw the glass at the SUV because they were fighting? She pulled off and somehow his shoe came on. I'm like, okay, if she rolled over his foot, then his toe would have probably had the damage. Oh, I'm sorry, guys. It's not going to be probably fun to watch me yawning and stuff. Okay, so I guess if I was in the jury, I would say I have to vote not guilty, because even though I think she did most likely hit him with her vehicle somehow in some bizarre fashion where it flung his shoe off and it cracked his skull on the ground, and that was that. But she didn't do it on purpose, and she was probably drunk, but I don't know. I just feel like I would have to say not guilty. I would just say there is literally too much reasonable doubt. I could not in any good conscience Like, to me, she probably could have maybe sort of, what if any, is just not reasonable doubt. Is certainly not a moral certitude. Well, moral certainty says, moral certainty is a concept of intuitive probability. It means a very high degree of probability sufficient for action, but short of absolute or mathematical certainty, and in this case, scientific, and even hard evidence. So that's what I'm saying. Is she the unluckiest woman in the world where she didn't do this and some totally bizarre mystery crazy thing happened that we'll never know, and she gets pinned on it, it gets pinned on her, and she goes to jail for this? Or is she the luckiest woman in the world where she actually hit him with her SUV, but it happened in such the most 1 in a billion chance way that nobody's going to believe she did it, and so she's going to get off with it? Did she actually want to kill him? And she did delete those videos, and she did move her vehicle and tamper with evidence, and she did leave, you know, all of those crazy voicemails on purpose to make people think that she thought he was out cheating when she knew his ass was dead in the bushes, you know, and the snow and the blizzard. We'll never really know. Did she show John an altered text chain between her and John Higgins to make it look like Brian Higgins, to make it look like Brian was pursuing her? Did she show John the ring camera footage of her walking out with him? Was he actually jealous of that? We'll never know. I mean, the fact that John was being friendly to Brian that night at the bar makes me think, no, he didn't know. Why? You know, that was a lie. I think that was a lie, that Karen lied to Brian in the text messages that John was like, hey, are you fucking with him now? I think that was a lie, which was proven to be false based on, in my opinion, how John was kind and friendly to Brian at the bar. So I think that Karen was lying to Brian about John knowing. But is that motive for murder? And how will we ever know? Well, I mean, they never presented John's phone. They never presented, these are John's text messages between, they showed those Facebook messages, but they didn't show text messages. They didn't show. Oh. So I think that these jurors are not going to want to deal with this over the weekend and come back again on Monday. I think that 9 weeks is long enough. Tomorrow is Friday. And, well, by the time this video is out, it might be Friday. Hopefully I'll get it out tonight, but it's already 10:34. And it takes a while. I'm lighting an incense. This is another stickless type of incense, meaning it looks like a stick, but there's no stick in it. The whole thing pretty much burns. Again, no, not sponsored, because I have no sponsors yet. Hopefully I will. And so this, because it has no stick, I made this little thing. Let me show. So I think that the jury's going to come back tomorrow. They're going to deliberate. I have my little tray. I have this little thing that I made by hand, and there's a little hole in the back so I can poke out the little unburnt tip. I save those, and then I put this in here, and then I put this in here, and then I put this on here, and then I put this on here, and that's how I have that. And then I put that over there, and it smells so good. So my guess, it's Thursday, June 27th, 2024. It is 10:36 p.m. Tomorrow is Friday, June 28th. The jury will be coming back to deliberate for their fourth day. I think that I think they're going to find her not guilty. There's no intent proven. The evidence is so shoddy. The lead investigator was highly corrupted and obviously biased against her. He was unprofessional. He was disgusting. All of the taillight evidence was suspect. You know, the way Alan Jackson was pointing out, there was 3 pieces that are now 5. Where did the other 2 come from? And on one hand, and Runkle of the Bailey even popped up my comment on the screen on his stream, damn fly, which was, it probably just broke in the bag, Alan. Okay, but what that proves to me is that they were totally careless with the evidence, because if you have little tiny pieces of glass, which are evidence in a murder trial, why would you just have them in a bag where they could break? There was no blood on the taillights. Maybe all got washed off because of the snow, but that seems unlikely. I don't know. There was no blood on the car. No blood on the car. There was no glass in his arm. There was somebody who said, I think in the closing, he said something about pieces of glass in the shirt or something, but there was never any testimony of that. No one ever testified to that. I don't remember somebody saying, I tweezered pieces of glass out of the arm of the shirt. Why would you do that anyway? Why wouldn't you take photographs of the arm of the shirt with the bloody pieces of glass, and then show me the bloody arm with the bloody pieces of glass, and it corresponds, and then show me the bloody taillight with the pieces of glass missing that match up, and then it's like boom, 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 1, 2, 3, boom, boom, boom. No. You have inverted videos with jumped out parts. You've got no video footage or photographic evidence that's showing a timeline, that's showing zoomed in, that's showing this is how it looked at the scene. This is, none of that. So it's just like reasonable doubt. And if it all comes down to, she actually did actually hit this man with her vehicle. She knew what she was doing. And my little pad here matches my wall. And she deleted Ring camera footage, and she left 10,000 voicemails to make it seem like she didn't know where he was and all that. Well, then you know what? She wins a fucking Emmy. She gets off because, I don't know. So my speculation guess is that tomorrow the jury after lunch, they're going to come back with a not guilty verdict on all 3 counts. And Karen Reed will go home. And then maybe one of the O'Keefes will kill her. No, don't say that. Who knows, There'll be some riots or some shit. I don't know. I mean, it's terrible for someone to get away with murder. But what's even more terrible is corrupt cops or incompetent police departments or law enforcement agencies who feel that they do not have to take records, take videos, have body cams, have evidence logs, have secured crime scenes, have non-biased investigators, trooper cops who are not saying absolutely vile and disgusting, unprofessional and heinous things about someone who they are investigating. You have the power to put this woman away in jail, then you don't have any rights to be saying nasty, gross, disgusting stuff about her. that's going to cancel out your credibility, which is going to cancel out your testimony and your evidence. And then if we cancel that out, then what do we have? We have a very serious case of reasonable doubt. And I think that unfortunately, there are some mysteries that never get solved. There are, they call them cold cases or whatever, but there are just sometimes the evidence, the science, the math, the testimony, the witnesses are just not able to clearly solve the mystery. And there will always be people who think that Karen is absolutely guilty and that she committed murder, intentional act of murder. And then there'll be people who think that she was drunk as a motherfucking skunk and she hit him with her SUV and therefore, DUI, involuntary manslaughter, DUI. And then there'll be people who believe that the McCabe's, the Alberts, the Higgins, all of them, they did some terrible crime and they covered it up and they framed her. The fact is that there's literally so many possibilities that is reasonable doubt. Reasonable doubt goes in the favor of the defendant. Reasonable doubt is a not guilty vote. I could not, with any moral certainty, say she was guilty. I think I really do think she hit him with her vehicle, despite Crash Daddy and the other cute bio guy saying no. They're probably right that the chances of that happening were 1 in a billion. That's me saying that. But I think that there's just no other reasonable, there's no other reasonable explanation to me about how he got there in the snow with a cracked skull. How exactly did she hit him? How did he end up with a cracked skull and just a few wounds? I don't know. That's why I'm saying it's a bizarre 1 in a billion thing, because it's so unlike the way you would normally expect it. But I don't believe that means that she should go to jail for years and stuff like that. And is she a danger to society? Probably not. Will the O'Keeffes feel an intense sense of injustice if she's found not guilty? Probably. And that's terrible. But, nothing is going to bring him back. And sending her to jail with the shoddy case that the police put together, I don't think it's right. So, I was going to finish up, but I'm going to read a couple of comments. Let's see. Quentin Broom. He said, okay, in my opinion, there are 2 separate questions when doing a poll on a trial. There is number 1, what do you think the outcome should be? And there is number 2, what do you think the outcome will be? Because my answers would end up on different sides on this case. There are many, very many issues that are not clarified, evidence of both guilty and not guilty, therefore hung jury, because not budgeable on those issues, but depends on the makeup of the jury. Then this lovely comment, also from Quentin Broom. You have summed it up well. Miss K is a sponge of facts in this case. Thank you. Then, you wrote also, microscopic plastic was in his shirt in evidence. Where? I never saw it. I scoured and I did not find that. They talked about, Lally said that in the closing, but it was not presented as evidence that I found. As far as intent, car data in key cycle of 24.2 miles per hour in reverse for 62 feet, after reverse for 30 feet and stopping momentarily, then no braking at all in reverse. You said, quote, she wanted to escape quickly and angrily, which is normal, and not in reverse for 62 feet with 72% accelerator pushed for entire backing, so I see intent, but not necessarily to kill. And I think she left, well, how can that be? She left and blanked out and hoped for the best while still angry at him. But then she realized no one called, nor hospital, nor did he show up. So then she panicked for his well-being. But I do agree with your assessment of the case outcomes. Okay, so, you know, they talked about that key cycle and that and stuff. And I don't know. If she hit him that hard, like Crash Daddy said, and the other guy, he would have been pulverized. So I don't believe that that's true. I don't believe that she hit him at that speed. So it says all, and then Quentin did another comment. Also, she didn't go to 34 for fear of ID, etc. You're speculating. Then realized no one would call the niece or herself, speculating. So she realized that no one found him, speculating. So it was safe to go check 34, speculating. Then saw him, speculating. Then not wanting to be at the scene, speculating. So then notified others of his missing status, etc. Speculating. All of that is speculation, which is fine. That's what we're all doing. That's why I'm like reasonable doubt, because I'm speculating, you're speculating. Two-Turn Karen wrote a literal novel, and you know, deeply believe that you did more research than ever in this case, but yet I guarantee you Alan Jackson and Yannetti, who are probably being paid $1 million, are doing the damn research. I guarantee you that Lowley was doing the damn research, and whatever you all are speculating about, it was not proven in evidence. So it's kind of irrelevant. It's irrelevant. It's irrelevant what we all speculate. It's irrelevant that I think most likely she hit him with her SUV and maybe didn't know. And maybe did know. But it doesn't matter if I think that or not, because the fact is they didn't really prove it. So if somehow the jury comes back with guilty, I mean, I could see if anything, sort of, I could see them saying she was guilty of DUI, involuntary manslaughter. That's what I think might happen, that they're going to say not guilty of second-degree murder, guilty of involuntary DUI murder. Or even, isn't there one guilty of leaving the scene of a fatal accident? So, you know, I said that maybe they'll say not guilty on all, but maybe they said guilty of those other lesser charges. Maybe they'll try to figure it out. Like, I really do feel that they're not going to want a hung jury. You're not going to want a hung jury after sitting there for 9 weeks. They're not going to want to not finish this. They're going to take it seriously. They're going to want to give closure to the family. They're going to want to give closure to Karen. They're the ones who sat there with her in the jury, in the courtroom day after day, and really got to see her facial expressions, her body language, got to see how she interacted with the lawyers. They got to assess. They got to get a sense of her. That's a small courtroom. They probably were relatively intimately and close enough where they, at 9 weeks is a long time. They have a sense, I believe, of what's the right thing to do. I believe that. I believe that whatever they decide, that I'm not able to decide. If I was in that room and I was watching the evidence and listening, you know, yes, I watched on YouTube while I was working, and I listened to a bunch of lawyers and give their opinion, and I listened to it multiple times and all that stuff, but I wasn't there in the room with the witnesses, seeing their body language and their facial expressions, listening to every word, every intonation, seeing the interactions. They are the best ones to truly decide. They are the finders of fact. They are the ones who get to decide. Was Trooper Proctor really as awful as it seems? Was he believable? Can they parse out some of what he said and keep in some of others, or do they throw it all away? What about the other witnesses? Do they think that maybe Marietta really did make out with John and she was lying about that fact? And now that John is dead, there's literally it's nothing but her word against his. And she was making out with John at the elevator because she thinks he's pretty fucking hot. And she lied to cover that up. And maybe Karen really did see them making out and she wasn't completely jealous and unhinged. She saw something. And maybe when she was telling Brian Higgins that John was cheating, it was true. We'll never know. John's not here to give his side of the story. There's no video evidence. And Marietta said that it didn't happen and it would never happen. Do we know if that's true? How do I know? Reasonable doubt. So we'll see. Hopefully they'll come back with something tomorrow. I really hope they will. I really think that they're going to be like, let's just finish this. Let's all get to go home for the weekend, done with this, and we don't have to come back again. The ones who liked each other will, exchange numbers if they haven't already. And I don't think you're supposed to exchange numbers beforehand, but you know what I'm saying? They can be friends, and I'm sure it's a life-altering, lifelong bonding type of experience. That's probably part of why they're in there. Talking. Because once they get their verdict and it's all done, they'll never be in this situation again. They'll never be in this. This is the final throes of this unbelievably passionate, split case that has fascinated the nation. And once they give their verdict, it's going to be like the final chapter. I mean, I guess if it's guilty, then, there'll be appeals and all that. And also, they are obviously aware of the fact that there's people with signs and picketing, and it's, who knows? It might be a riot. It might be a great celebration, but it's like, if Karen wins, people will be happy, but then the actual O'Keefes will probably be sad. I believe that they probably think that she did it. And then what if she's found guilty? And then do we get to hear victim impact statements? Will we get to hear the family speak? If she's found not guilty, I don't believe there's anything like that happening. Will the family do interviews afterward? Will Karen? Will the jurors? I want to know all of it. They keep saying that, they're going to make a movie. They're going to make a movie. They're going to, I prefer the real life thing, because it's, it's intriguing and it's fascinating. And with that, I am going to end this video. And I feel pretty confident that we'll get a verdict tomorrow or today, depending on whenever you're watching this. I think we'll get a verdict for the Karen Read trial on Friday, June 28th, 2024, after lunch. That's my thoughts. I could be wrong. I think they're going to come back with either not guilty on all counts or the lesser two. We'll see. What do you think? Oh, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, hit the bell, share this with someone who's interested. And if you would be so kind and you do enjoy my videos, I've noticed that at least 30% of the people who watch my videos are not subscribed. I am trying to get to that magic 1,000 little bitty baby, 1,000. And I would love it if you would join me on that journey. So hit subscribe and share this with anybody else who you think might enjoy my videos. Thank you very much. See you in the next one. Bye.